Hi, and welcome to my public journal. Today, I want to talk to you about the tech stack that I'm using to build this platform. If you have been following the journey, you'd have seen the platform that I'm talking about. But if you're new here, you're highly welcome to the channel. My name is Ewania Obed, and I'm a pharmacist and a software engineer. Currently, I am trying to build a platform called CodeSnipX, which is going to be a SaaS platform for developers to manage their code snippets. So in simple terms, the idea is if you have a code snippet, if you have a specific code that does a specific work, for instance, you've implemented an algorithm that you want to reuse over and over, you would have a place to store it and a way to easily integrate it into any project that you want, whether you're using an extension, an IDE extension, like a VS Code extension, or you're using your terminal, a CLI command to grab that snippet right into your directory, or whichever means which I am trying to develop. That is the idea behind CodeSnipX. So today I want to talk to you about the tech stack that I'm using and possibly discuss why I chose this tech stack. So the first tech stack, this is a holistic platform, a full stack application that I'm building. And for that reason, I needed to consider the whole length of it, that is from front end, back end, database. So let's start with the database. So the database, I'm using MongoDB. The question would be, why are you using MongoDB? Why are you not using any of the SQL database or SQL databases? And my answer is simply, I've just fallen in love with MongoDB. So way before I got introduced to MongoDB, I used to do everything with SQL. But then I read that, there's a lot of considerations that goes into choosing either a relational or a non-relational database. But when I started using MongoDB, I realized how simple it was to work with, especially when most of these things are with Express.js, which I'll talk about soon. And I tend to use Mongoose, which makes these things very simple. Like, it makes working with a database very simple. So I have gotten used to using it, but mostly because I want to get better at this particular database, right? This is like a pet project for me, even though I want to make something useful that others can use. But at the end of the day, the goal is for me to learn and also optimize my knowledge in certain technologies. And MongoDB is one such technology that I really want to master. For that reason, I ended up choosing it. Maybe in my next project, I'll begin to explore PostgreSQL for and some other ORMs with PostgreSQL to try my hands on it, because I haven't used PostgreSQL in any advanced projects before. So hopefully in my next project, I will target that. But the reason I settled on MongoDB was for me to be able to master it, and also the ease of working with it. And because I also didn't have like the structure of the database already formed, and I was thinking on the fly whilst doing it. So I feel MongoDB gave me that flexibility to work with it. That's for the database. And to communicate to the database, I use an ORM. An ORM stands for Object Relational Mapper. I use an ORM called Mongoose. And Mongoose makes working with MongoDB very easy. It's easy to connect with, it's easy to interact with the database, and that is the main reason why I chose it. And ever since I came across Mongoose, I've never looked back. I'm almost always using it if I'm working with MongoDB. Maybe I'll try something new along the line, but yes, as I mentioned, the reason I chose this was for me to get a better grasp of all of them, building real life projects that people are using, so that I get the real life experience with them. Coming to the back end, so I use Node.js, but then specifically Express.js as the framework, and with TypeScript. So Node.js, Express.js, TypeScript, you can think of it anyhow you want, but then this is all JavaScript. So my major programming language that I'm trying to get very good at is JavaScript. For that reason, I'm using JavaScript across all the length, like everything, front end JavaScript, back end JavaScript, and even to interact with the database, I'm using JavaScript. So that is how what I used. And the reason why I chose Express.js, Express is unopinionated. Like there are several ways that you can do something in Express. You're not forced to particular standards. So it gives me the choice to implement whatever I want to implement. And it is one of the reasons why I like Express.js. But then also, I was trying to get better at it. I've done a couple of projects in Express.js. So this was like, all right, let's keep doing it and getting better and better. And trust me, even though I've implemented more advanced projects in Express.js, this particular build has taught me several things that I didn't know, especially because I haven't used TypeScript with Express.js in any advanced project before. So this was the first advanced project I'm using TypeScript with Express.js. So it has been full of lessons, full of learnings. I have learned several things that I didn't know before, and I'm really happy that I chose this tech stack to work with. Now let's move on to the front end. So for the front end, I'm using Next.js. And if you know Next.js, you know that it is React based. So in a sense, you would say I'm using React. But I'm not. Next.js in itself is a full stack web framework. So it allows you to create both the back end and the front end. But I'm using Next.js just for the front end and not the back end. And trust me, it hasn't been easy. I've This is not something that I'm doing for the first time. I've done it before where I built Next.js for the front end and Express.js for the back end. But the sort of things that I'm trying to implement right now, like integrating authentication, adding OAuth authentication services like that's provided by Google, GitHub, and the likes, it really hasn't been that easy for me. But then I love the challenge. I love the growth that I'm going through. I can see that every single day I'm learning. And today in particular was one such example where I was stranded. I'm about completing the interface for creating snippet right from the front end. And I mean, the design is done, the logic is ready. It's just to pass that information to the back end. And this I know is very simple. Passing data, making a push request to an API is way easy to do in any React based application. The challenge is that in my implementation of my backend, I require the user to be authenticated. The user needs to have a token that is a JWT token before they are able to create snippets. So now I have to make sure that in the front end, this user, when they log in with either Google or GitHub, as I've implemented, it should generate this token. And this token can only come from my back end. So, I mean, I'll talk about it some other time, but I had a bit of a challenge. I still haven't fixed everything, but now I've seen where the problem is coming from and I'm on it fixing it. So hopefully I get to finish that soon. But it has been a huge learning curve for me. And I think in the past, I haven't really implemented authentication using OAuth before, even though I knew about it. So this was really a good choice for me. And coupled with that, I added TypeScript. So TypeScript also, it's that thing that you know about, but then until you begin to use it, you really do not know it. So that is what TypeScript is. Way before these projects, I thought I knew TypeScript, but then I started using it and I realized that no, there's a lot to TypeScript that and it keeps punishing me all the time. And it's so frustrating sometimes. If you don't take care, you just give up. Like, and why? Who sent you? You could use JavaScript to do this and finish in the shortest possible time, but you decided to use TypeScript. Who sent you? So that is one of the biggest problems that I've been facing, but I'm happy that I'm learning and getting better understanding things, discovering things, and also, yeah, feeling the growth. I think is the most important thing for me. The other technology that I can talk about is using Next.js. So Next.js, I mean, I don't even know who created it, but I want to believe once it's named like that, Next.js in itself is created by Vessel. So I want to believe Next.js is probably from Vessel as well. I don't know, maybe it's also an open source project. I can't really tell, but that's what I'm using for authentication. I know that now it has even been renamed to Auth.js and it's allowed to be used in other projects outside of Next.js projects. But I am still using Nest Auth and not the Auth.js. However, I think it's a good starting point. Once I become conversant with Nest Auth, I believe that I should easily be able to use Auth.js. So it was a good add-on to the tech stack that I'm using, and I'm excited about it. I'm happy that I took that route. So all in all, these are like the major technologies that I'm using to build code snippets, and it's been a learning curve, like a huge one. And I keep saying that I appreciate the growth. Some 30 or 40 days ago, these were things that I thought I knew, but when I started going into this, digging into them, fighting with my computer, trying to fix problems every single day, and I've been consistent on these various days, like the past 40 something days I've coded every single day. So I can see, like, I can feel it. I don't know if you all feel like that, but personally when I sit behind a computer, I can now feel that, yeah, I understand this thing. Like, I understand it way better than I thought I understood it. So these things were things that in the past I thought I understood. I thought I knew them. Then I get to start implementing and working on things. I realize that, oh no, I don't understand this, why that. And ChatGPT has been very helpful. Maybe I should add it to the tech stack. So ChatGPT is one of the tech stacks that I'm using because I keep communicating and doing the brainstorming with ChatGPT, trying to refine things. Even though sometimes it gives me wrong answers, I have to go to the documentation to figure things out myself. But yeah, it has been a great experience. And I forgot to mention that I already built the CLI tool, that's the npm package, and that as well I use Node.js. So purely I'm using JavaScript for everything. And I'm looking forward to implementing a VS Code extension. So I've started reading around it, and yeah, it's pretty, I wouldn't say easy, but I think it's relatively easy to do. Like, I just have to have a good plan of how I want it to be. Then I'll go ahead and implement it. So I've actually tried implementing something simple in VS Code and it worked. So I'm super excited about it. But for now, I want to focus on finishing the MVP. Once the MVP is done, then I can proceed to create that VS Code extension. And I had one friend of mine also join me on this journey, and hopefully we'll be working together to get this done on time. Our goal is to set up the MVP as soon as possible. So he worked on the subscription, and hopefully in the course of this week we'll be looking into integrating the subscription for integrating the subscription into both the front end and the back end. So for subscription right now, we are starting with Stripe, but we're looking forward to integrating other payment gateways if possible. But we're starting with Stripe, and our goal is to build this various services as code base that we can reuse in other projects. So we are building, like, I built the authentication service in such a way that we can easily copy and paste this code for other projects. The same way we are building the subscription services that we can do same. After that, we will look at other services that are essential for a platform like CodeSnipX, that's a SaaS platform like that. But all in all, I appreciate the journey, and especially those of you who have been supporting me along this journey. Like, I really appreciate you as well. Because of you, like, I cannot stop doing this. Because of you, I'm motivated every single day to want to get up and write some code. Even if all I have is 30 minutes, I appreciate it, and I use that 30 minutes to write some code just to get better, and also just to keep motivating you and helping you also aspire to greater height and putting in the work. Seeing me put in the work, I believe will motivate some of you to keep putting in the work and for you to get better. So thank you all for joining me on this journey. Hopefully I would work on something tomorrow and share with you what I worked on. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.